Check, test, 1, 2. Checking the audio. Video looks pretty good. It's 7 o'clock. Check, test. Awesome. All right. Hey, good evening, everybody. Sounds like we're live and on the air. So good to see everybody here tonight. Gary's in from Sun City down in Arizona. Tim Myers checking in from Ohio. EJ Weiss is in, as well as George, a.k.a. Dad, from Massachusetts. See, EJ Weiss is in. Let's see, I think I mentioned that. Vincent's in. Judy Kimbrough. Hi, Judy. And Vincent, Bruce. So good to see you all. Yeah, we were chatting in the pre-chat a little bit. Today was the first day, well, actually yesterday was the first day the daytime high was above 0 in the last 10 days, and it was 34 today. We're actually expecting a little bit of snow, I think overnight and into tomorrow. It's all right, you know, at least it's not 2 degrees like it was overnight Saturday. It's way too early. I agree with EJ in that it's way too early to be this cold. And gosh, who would want to be in Buffalo right now or western upstate New York? I saw reports, I think it was Huntington, New York, 81 inches of snow. That's almost 7 feet. That's 3 inches short of 7 feet. That is a ton of snow, for sure. Thankfully, we don't get that much here. We could use it, though. George said I was asking him why he'd gone back to Massachusetts. It's for Thanksgiving. Bit rate of 4,500. Okay, well, I'll turn things back down again next week. Just catching up on the chat here, making sure I haven't overlooked anybody. Wanda Rutledge checking in. Good evening, Wanda, and happy Thanksgiving to you and everybody else. Does everybody have plans for Thanksgiving? I'll be cooking Thanksgiving right here. The whole 9 yards. Gonna have turkey. Probably won't do dressing. I'm not a big dressing fan, but we'll have mashed potatoes, pumpkin pie. I love cranberries. In fact, I buy chilled cranberries and I make sandwiches out of it. That's how much I like cranberries. Yeah, I'll buy jellied cranberries and use it like jam and make peanut butter and cranberry sandwiches. And, of course, you put cranberries on your turkey sandwich, and that's pretty good, too. I mean, that's one of the main reasons to make a turkey, isn't it? Just to have for sandwiches the next week. I didn't buy a big turkey, and I actually got mine for free. There was this special at Winco where I do my shopping. Winco is Northwest. Well, they're down in Arizona now too. Warehouse kind of a grocery store. It's not real fancy. You know, they'll put the groceries on the shelves in the boxes that they came in. You know, that kind of stuff. But it's definitely the least expensive grocery store in this area. And they had a deal: if you bought $100 worth of groceries, you got your turkey for free. So I just picked up a small one, 14-pounder. So yeah, I like turkey, you know, that kind of stuff. Gary D says Walmart has had a sale on 30-pound propane tanks. Really? Well, I got 4 of them. Oh, on 30s. Interesting. Yeah, I've got like 4 20s and I've got a 60. The 60 is left over from my first winter or my first attempt, and I did all right, wintering in my RV, my Class A Newmar. I bought a 60-gallon propane tank just because, technically 60 gallons, 60 pound. Not 60 gallons, it's 60 pounds, it's like 45 gallons, probably something like that. Propane tank so I could have a large external tank. So yeah, it is coming up on Thanksgiving. I'll be doing the live stream next week. Tim reminded me, and I think you're right, Tim. You sent me the information just before I left to go to Arkansas back in September. And I'm pretty sure I probably got a chance to look at it, but I just didn't get back to it. So we'll talk about that next week. How's that sound? 2 feathers? Sure. We got room for one more. Always room. Regina, just jumping on. No worries, Regina. We're happy to have you here. Around Town Scout or checking in San Antonio for Thanksgiving with family. Good to see you, guy. Yeah, we're... it's probably going to just be me and my brother for Thanksgiving this year. My friends are most all my friends are now are out of town for the holidays this year, at least for Thanksgiving. So yeah, we'll just take a nice easy day here, watch a little football, take several naps, and just make the best of it. Eric Myers checking in from cold New Mexico. You got to do what like Round Town did and go south for Thanksgiving when it gets cold. So actually last week Eric had pinged me about I have a stash of documents. I was trying to figure out a good way to put this. When I had my Class A, I was on a mission to collect every document I could find about the chassis, about the RV, about all of the appliances and equipment in that. And I've offered this up before. You can have that information if you have a Freightliner chassis in the years probably somewhere between 2000, I'd say 99 to 2006. There's great information in there about the Freightliner chassis, and in fact there's a lot of information in there about the newer Freightliner chassis as well. I got all that when I went to Camp Freightliner. That was the class for Freightliner owners that was offered at the Newmar rally in, I guess we were in Pueblo, Colorado, is where that was. Was that Pueblo? Yeah, I think it was. Oh, this would have been 2016, something like that. And so I took the opportunity to take the Camp Freightliner owners class. And it was definitely worth it. But I have all those documents still, and I have them stashed up on Dropbox. So if you've got an older Freightliner chassis and you'd like those documents, or an older Newmar, I'd be happy to send you a link for that. Like I say, there's quite a bit of information up there around Newmars and the Freightliner style chassis. So if you want that, send me an email, trbolin@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to add you to the list of folks that have access to those documents. It's not technically a link, Eric, and I believe I responded to you last week and added you to the list. It was an 04, Tim, 2004. Tim says his wife has to work 7 to 7 Thanksgiving evening, so we won't do the big dinner. Yeah, this isn't going to be a big dinner, right? I mean, it's going to be turkey and taters and a vegetable and that kind of stuff. Definitely not a big dinner. So yeah, I did. Yes, Eric, I did. send that link. I believe I did. I thought you sent that to me last Tuesday, and I tried to do that right after the stream last Tuesday night while I was still here and online. But if you didn't get it, let me know, Eric. I think it was Eric that I sent it to. Gosh. Maybe I better go look before I step in it here. Yeah, Eric, you should have got a link from me through Dropbox. That would have been about 8 o'clock last Tuesday night. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Thanks, Eric. Yeah, perfect. So, yeah, it was an 04, and then, but the thing about it is that the stuff that's specific to the 04, I had like electrical diagrams, I had the airline diagrams, that kind of stuff for my chassis, and it actually covered, I think that chassis, I think it was 03 to 06 was the year that those schematics and stuff would fit. But there's other information in there about Freightliner, the newer Freightliner chassis, mostly because I took the class in 2016. And the nice thing about Freightliner, and one of the things that Mike did, the guy that taught the class, was that he went and found specific information. You know, it was geared for the folks with the newer chassis. But he went and found the specific information. When you register for the class, they ask you for your chassis number or your VIN. And that way they can go and pull the build sheet on your rig. And so he had found all of the documentation for my chassis, specific to my chassis, and included it in this, on the DVD, CD that I got that had all the documents. Regina says they're still having trouble with the hydraulic jacks and not retracting all the time. Sometimes work, but sometimes one will not go all the way up. Any suggestions? Yes. What I would recommend is that you extend those hydraulic jacks all the way out. Get yourself some either WD-40 or ATF. I think either will work. I prefer the ATF myself because that's what's in those hydraulic systems is automatic transmission fluid. So what I'm going to tell you to do is wipe down the jack tubes, that's the shiny metal part of the jack, with either WD-40 or ATF, and then run the jacks up and down a couple times, and then wipe them down again, run them up and down a couple times. Excuse me. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to get those jacks oiled up. I had the same problem with my rig where the jacks wouldn't retract all the way. Well, what it was is that one wouldn't go all the way back. And so that's what I ended up doing with it. And it took 4 or 5, extending it, wiping it down with, I used ATF, as I mentioned, automatic transmission fluid. I think WD-40 worked fine for that too. And then retracting them back and forth and just kind of working it. And then, about once every 3 or 4 months, when I thought about it, I would run the tubes all the way out. I'd get my soft, clean cloth, wipe the tube down, hit it with some ATF again. Now, people would say that the ATF would draw dirt, but I never had a problem with it. First off, because the ATF... there's something called a wiper seal on those tubes, and so it actually, when the tube, the internal tube, the jack tube comes out, the oil is retained inside the hydraulic cylinder, and it wipes that cylinder dry, almost dry. And so what happens is that those rings get dry, and then they get a little sticky when the jacks go up and down, go in and out. So, as a reminder, if you're shy and you want to ask a question but you don't want to do it online, or at least on the chat, you're more than welcome to email me, trbolin@gmail.com, and I will do what I can to get back to you, usually within 24 hours. I'm finally getting a little caught up. I still have about 600 emails that I haven't answered, but I'm getting there. And then we'll work it out via email, and if it's interesting, I'll bring it into this chat the following week, and share it with everybody. I don't have any prepared content tonight, so we'll probably just sit around here and chat a little bit and then wrap it up early unless there are questions coming in. So Regina, I hope that helps. Yeah, wipe those tubes down, oil them up real good. Like I say, I didn't have any problems with dirt and being attracted to them at all. And then every 2 or 3 or 4 months, whenever you think about it, extend the jacks all the way out, wipe them down with hydraulic oil, ATF, automatic transmission fluid. I had somebody challenge me one time and say that HWH, now Lippert, said to use WD-40 on their jacks, and I went and looked, and it does say that in some owners' manuals, in the newer ones. But the ATF's going to be fine too, because that's what's in the system. Dextron 3. Gary says his buddy has aftermarket jacks on his rig. Never worked right till he went back to the manufacturer of the system. Now very happy with them. Yeah, they're tricky to get on and get set up correctly if you don't do it a lot. There's a lot of synchronization. There's stop switches. There's all kinds of additional things that have to go on in addition to the jacks. And yeah, if you don't get it all just right and installed properly, yeah, they could not work. And we chatted a little bit about this last week. Lippert, HWH. Lippert owns HWH now. Getting support from them, I guess, has been tough, and getting parts from them has been even tougher. So, yeah, take your patience if you're calling HWH/Lippert. You know, and that's good advice at any time, but yeah, especially if you're calling for technical support. You know, what can I say? I'm a guy that used to do technical support on the telephone back when I was an IT geek, and yeah, impatient people. You know, things only move so fast. George was mentioning that he had put on his his cold weather gear and probably wouldn't take it off till he got back to Georgia. And I'm actually wearing a thermal. Well, it's those 32 degrees shirts that you get from Costco, but I found them to be really good shirts. They breathe well too. So yeah. But yeah, the jacks just take a little bit of maintenance, just like everything on the rigs. You know, if you maintain them regularly, you'll be a lot happier down the road. So is everybody home? Do we have anybody out there that's full-timing right now? I think, let's see, Eric, you're full-timing, aren't you? But is everybody going to be home for Thanksgiving? I am, of course. I'm just looking back through the chat because sometimes I miss comments, and I apologize for that. I noticed I missed a couple last week. Things get scrolling and rolling, and sometimes I forget to roll back and see what has come in. So I'm just rescanning. Oh, Eric says, if the tank's not under 100 gallons, they won't fill it because it has to be weighed? Huh. Well, where I would take my tank, they filled it by the number of gallons. You know, they just, I don't know if I've ever had a propane tank weighed when I've had it filled. They always just charge you by the gallons. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I mean, yeah, that could be. I know they can do it by weight, but most of the propane fill places I've ever been to had the little meter that, measured it in gallons. Yeah, Gary, that's a true statement. I think this is related to Thanksgiving. He says families get smaller for some of us as we get older. Yeah, for sure. Vincent RV Life says they'll be home on Florida through Christmas. Gotcha. Eric's home. Regina's home. Two Feathers asks, does anybody know if my 2008 24 Winnebago 24-foot Winnie hitch can carry a 500-pound motorcycle? My son says it's a class 4 hitch rating, which can carry 500 pounds, 5,000 pounds towing. Yeah, didn't you send me some pictures on that too? I thought we looked at that. I wonder, maybe I might have those. Just a minute here. Let me see if I've got those. Maybe it wasn't you that sent me those. Yeah, maybe it wasn't you. I thought somebody had sent me some pictures about tow bar. It might not have been you. I'm just looking back through my emails here just to see. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. Maybe you did. Maybe this is it. Nope, that was from when you had the leak. So, yeah, anyway, that's a good question. You know, they make specific hitches to carry those motorcycles on. And if it's a class 4 and a 5,000 pound, now on the hitches, they're required to have a plate on them. So there should be somewhere either a plate or stamped into it telling you the maximum tongue weight and the maximum weight, towable weight of the vehicle. Now, keep in mind that that is what the hitch will hold. You should be able to look into your owner's manual too and find out what Winnebago states is the carrying capacity, the tongue weight that can go on that hitch, and the towing capacity, because they may derate it. Oh, is that right, EJ? Okay, interesting. Yeah, just differences in location, I guess, because here in the West, I don't think I've ever had a tank filled. I know that I've been to places where they have a scale by the fill ports, but I've never had a bottle weighed, even the 60-pounder. And I was getting that filled at like Suburban Propane in actually Lakewood, Colorado, metropolitan Denver, but Lakewood. And they just pump it with and charge me by the gallon. I'm almost positive. Yeah, it was by the gallon. It wasn't by the pound. So I just guess regional differences. Well, it's like in New Jersey, you can't pump your own gas either, can you? Kind of like Oregon. Oregon, you can't pump your own gas. Regina says she's home in Kentucky for Thanksgiving, but leaving for the West Coast on the 12th. Yeah, that sounds like a good deal. Yeah, Eric's not home. He's on full time. And yeah, interesting. Sorry, hang on here. Oh yeah, that's hilarious. This is George, aka Dad. Let me pop this up. He says, I think this is George. If memory serves me correctly, I think George equals Craig. Hang on here. Let me pop over here and pop this up. That's pretty funny. Come over here. There we go. That's why I'm full-timer. I think Craig is George, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, guy. Um, because everybody has a screen name, and I get most of them learned, right? Because I know like Vince in RV Life, that's Bruce, because we've communicated. Uh, Two Feathers, I think I know Two's real name. If I thought about it for a minute, I could probably bring it up. Um, it's like Square Body Truck Camper Jay, who used to be KX Racer, comes in from Pennsylvania and joins us every once in a while from the Poconos. Tom's late. That's okay, Tom. I was just wondering if you were on the road going somewhere for Thanksgiving or what you were up to. Uh, on the tanks in a Class A. Really? EJ? Yeah, okay. That is hilarious. I guess, yeah, like you said, I didn't catch I saw the comment, but I didn't understand it, so I guess I didn't. uh, I guess it didn't connect when you said it's a cheap way to get your RV weighed. Eric Meyer says they can't move the tank on a motorhome. They will fill it at the station. I hope they weigh. They'll have to weigh the whole rig. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, they're true. They pump for you. It's the same in Oregon. You don't get to pump your own gas in Oregon. Gary says Orangewood RV charged by the gallon. I've never been anywhere that I can remember in the last 10 years. I do have that kind of memory left. Where I've actually had a tank weighed. It's always just been by the number of gallons they put in. Yeah, Craig's George. Okay, and then Tim. Yeah, perfect, Tim. Thanks for completing my thought. I got something shiny came by and I squirreled on it. And I got distracted. Check your owner's manual because some Class C's have more limitations, as he says, because the metal they use to extend the frame is less robust. Your manual should give you the max tongue weight. Yeah, 500 sounds pretty reasonable too. But yeah, you want to double check that. I think that's probably prudent to double check that in the owner's manual. And if you have trouble finding that, we can dig one up for you for sure. They're out there. Gotcha, Tom. Your kids are there. EJ Weiss says they had a Class A, had a tank level gauge. Yeah, I had a tank level gauge on mine, but I can't imagine any vendor, somebody selling propane using the tank level gauge that comes with it. That'd be too easy to manipulate and steal propane. Which is a funny story. When I got home here, there was a card on my door that the gas company had come by to check my meter for proper operation, because I guess, after I was gone and, my usage dropped way off because I turned the water heater off and, of course, the furnace wasn't running. It might have run a couple times while I was gone, but, not any amount. And so the gas company came by probably to see if I was stealing gas or if their meter was broken and I was getting free gas. Wouldn't that be a sad story to get some free gas this time of the year? Oh, yeah, gotcha, Eric. 10-4. Totally understand. Yeah, good. Okay. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for checking in. We'll see you next week. We're going to talk about solar next week, so it should be interesting. Yeah, I've been looking forward to talking a little bit more about solar, especially because, if memory serves me correctly, you might want to check out Renogy if you're looking for any kind of solar stuff, because I saw a thing come through that they're having some killer Black Friday sales. On some stuff, it was 40% on the website, and then if you use the link through my the link in this description and the checkout code, you'll save 5% more at Renogy, and I'll get a small commission, but you'll pay the same price. Same goes with Amazon. We're at that point in the hour I usually do the shameless plug anyway. that, yeah, if you'd like to support the channel in other ways, you can do so by visiting Amazon through the link in the video description. All you have to do is enter Amazon through that link. It doesn't matter if you buy anything from my store, but if you go to Amazon through the link in the video description, that'll take you to my store. Then you can depart from there, go anywhere else on Amazon, get what you want. It'll cost you the same amount of money, but I'll get a small commission, and it sure helps out a lot, especially this time of the year when RVing and everything slows down. We're all sitting here freezing, wishing we were down there with Gary drinking a beer at 75 degrees in Sun City. Or a soda or whatever if you don't drink beer. Roundtown Scouter, he says on our Class A, the propane tank's filled to bleed level valve and sold by the gallon. Yes, filled to 80%, and you pay for it by the gallon. And that's the way it's always been for me. Regina says good, she's looking for solar. Yeah, we're going to get you going there. We'll get you tuned up and get you at least a little bit of a primer and a little bit of education. And if there's further things that you'd like to discuss, Regina, I'm happy to help you out offline. As I mentioned, you can just email me, trbolin@gmail.com. Gary says you have to watch plastic and heat or plastic and UV in assemblies nowadays. Yeah, especially if it's outside. Yep, especially if it's outside. Oh, Eric says he's headed out to Arizona next week. Yeah, don't blame me, Eric. I'm going to be missing Arizona this winter for sure. It's going to be a long one, it seems like. Gary says he did a video on Renogy. We'll have to check that out, Gary. And then 2 says she's headed to Arizona as well. You guys are just rubbing it in, aren't you? Making me feel bad. I'm freezing already. Just teasing. So, yeah. I guess I could whine a little bit about insurance. My dad's life insurance specifically. I'm on my 3rd try now. 3rd submission to Standard Life to try to get his insurance, his life insurance squared away and back to me and my brother. Hopefully we'll figure it out. And we will eventually, but just like every damn insurance company, they'll hold you up and beat you out of every dime they possibly can. Yeah, we could go on about the insurance companies a lot, couldn't we? I forgot to mention, though, during my cheap commercial plug, if you like the video, give me that thumbs up. Always appreciate those. If you're not subscribed, subscribe, ring the notification bell. A quick visit to my website, over at trbolin.com, is always greatly appreciated. I'm actually been working on a couple of articles for the website. They probably won't post till sometime around Christmas, though, because I'm in the process of trying to get myself worked ahead on videos. I've got some really fun and interesting videos coming up on the truck camper renovation for sure. So, yeah. Oh, Gary says they're full-time in Arizona. Yeah, exactly. I thought you were full-time at Sun City down there, Gary. All right, so we'll just make one more quick pass out here for anybody that wants to ask any questions tonight, make a comment. We'll take your questions and comments. We'll hang here for just another couple minutes. And otherwise, we'll sign off for Thanksgiving and wish everybody a great Thanksgiving. Yeah. Next week, we'll talk about solar. Tim had sent me some information. Are you sure it was just before I left, Tim? I thought it was a little further back than that. But anyway, I'll run it down. we'll chat about Tim's setup specifically, but then we'll talk about solar in general and the parts and pieces you need to make solar work for you. And yeah, Steve Linder's checked in. Hi, Steve. It's good to hear from you. He says he finally did it. Tore out the old Nevercold 1200, and it went out the door. Perfect. And you didn't even have to take the windows or anything out. Excellent, Steve. And the Samsung 18's going in soon. Can't wait for cold food and beverages again. And ice. Ice. Oh my gosh. When I did that, I think that was probably, well, one of the best things about putting in the residential fridge was getting the ice maker, because it was so nice to have ice. But the other thing was is that I went from, in the Norcold 1200, and that's a big ass fridge, but it had a very small freezer compartment, and I've got like 5 times the freezer compartment with the Samsung RF18, and I never looked back. Never looked back. 927. Thanks, Tim. Yeah, that would have been after I left, but that's probably why I probably glanced at it and didn't get back to you on it. A little bit hectic at that time. Yeah, thanks Round Town for that. Thanks EJ. You have a safe Thanksgiving as well. Okay, good. We got some side stuff. Round Town's ask Gary where you can find that. Yeah, I'd like to see that video too, Gare. So yeah, let me know where it is. Email me the link to the video, and I'll share it next week on the stream. That way everybody can go out and check it out. And by the way, if you're just starting, I know we chatted a little bit about this. I guess it was last week, wasn't it? Maybe 2 weeks ago now, about starting up on YouTube and doing that kind of stuff. Yeah, they're you just got to keep at it. Don't be so hard on yourself. I have a new fidget widget. As everybody knows, usually my fidget widget is this red lighter. Right. In fact, I've fidgeted this so much I've got the label wore off of it now, and I've always got something I'm fidgeting in my hand. But I got this now to fidget with, and I've been fidgeting with it quite a bit. And this is the Hamilton Railroad Special pocket watch. And of course, as my dad worked for the railroad for 47 years, almost 42 years, I guess it was. Back in the back in the 50s and early 60s, the railroaders always carried a really accurate pocket watch. And this Hamilton, this is gold, I believe, a gold pocket watch. It has some initials on the back that are not my dad's, and I don't remember a story behind this. So anyway, but this is my new fidget bit. It runs, but it runs fast. It runs about 4 minutes fast in 3 hours, so it's running really fast. But Gary says Renogy wouldn't reply to him. Huh. That's odd. Gary says he'll send the link. Thanks, too. Hope you have a happy Turkey Day as well. Indeed. Let's see. We'll just double check that in case that's something that somebody wants me to share. It doesn't look like it. I had something else pop in here. Okay, Tim, I will send you that link to my Freightliner stash, the 2007. You may find some good stuff there. I gotta bet you that a lot of like the electrical and the airlines didn't change a lot between years in the early 2000s. They don't usually change that stuff too much because it takes a lot of money to retool and change stuff like that. Wiring harnesses, they may add wiring for new accessories and stuff like that, but in general, the general wiring harness is probably pretty valuable, and I think the airlines are probably pretty much the same too. But you may find something useful in there, and I will send you that right after the stream. So yeah, I'm happy to field your questions. We'll hang here for just another couple minutes, and then we'll call her for tonight. In the meantime, I guess maybe I'll just sit here and do that. Configuration control. I don't follow you, Gary. What are you driving at? You mean they wouldn't contact you back about configurations? That's odd. Yeah, that's really odd. All right, so we'll go last call. Okay, you have a question. Okay, Wandering RN, no problem. We do questions and questions. Cool. I'll hang. You want cold? My son is Eisler Air Force Bank in Fairbanks. Yeah. Fairbanks can get cold, for sure. All right. Rick C. checking in. Hi, Rick. You're good. Don't worry about it, Wandering RN. All right, so let's see. I'll get to you in just a minute, Rick. Wandering RN. She says, I'm leaving Alabama for a week and a half. Should I empty all my tanks and put antifreeze in the drains or just leave heat on 64? Where are you in Alabama? Does the temperature get below 28 degrees at night? I'll ask you that. And Rick, okay, so while we're waiting for the Wandering RN to answer, let's go to Rick. He says, I have a 2021 Mercedes chassis. Alternator puts out 15.3 sometimes. Norcold 12 volt only. Refrigerator alarm went off on over voltage. What's the best way to protect the refrigerator? Well, the best way would be a DC to DC charge controller. But on that Mercedes, I would think that it should have that. The other thing is that I think also that Norcold, is that newer one? I've seen this problem before. I'm just sitting here, sorry, I'm just thinking for a minute. I've seen that problem or heard about this problem before. It's been in the last year or so. Let me see if I can recall that, because I think we looked it up. No, it's not coming up. Okay, so good night, Gare. All right, I'm just thinking about your problem, Rick, and I'm not finding anything on this. I would think, yeah, I mean, I've seen that too. I've seen it on my pickup. I don't remember ever seeing my RV get quite that high. Since that's a 21, I'm guessing you should still have a warranty. And it may be worth going and talking to the dealer about that. Just trying to think. That might be the first thing I would try on that, rather than try to um, put something in between there to protect that fridge. That's a good point, Tim, that the regulator maybe need to be checked. Um, yeah, Rick, on that, I would think that a quick call to the dealer you bought the RV from might be worthwhile, just to see if they've run into that before on that specific chassis. Um, so when it goes over voltage like that, did it shut off or did it go into an error state that you had to reset, Rick? Question mark. Wandering RN says barely. It's been dropping to 31. All right. Do you know, in your rig, Wandering RN, do you have low point drains? Something called low point drains. A lot of times there'll be a low point drain where you can actually drain the lines in the RV. What I'm trying to do is, I don't think you need to go to the extent of putting antifreeze in. I don't think you need to do that. I think you'd be fine, like you say. I would drain all my tanks, drain the freshwater tank, drain your holding tanks, and you should be good for being gone a week and a half. But if there is a low point drain, then it wouldn't hurt to open up your low point drains. What that will do is that would just drain the water out of the lines inside, let it drain outside, and that would, essentially drain out drain the water out of the lines inside. I don't think you really need to worry about winterizing with the antifreeze. But yeah, if you leave the heat on 64, 60, open up the cabinets, right? So open up the under the sink in the bathroom, open up under the sink in the kitchen. Leave those open so that air can circulate in there, and you should be okay. But yeah, I would drain the water out of all the tanks, the fresh water, gray water, black water tanks. And yeah, if you do have those low point drains, then drain them out. Two Feathers has reported back she must have gone to her manual. She says 350 pounds max for tongue weight. Yeah, I kind of suspected that even though it was a heavier class hitch, that the tongue weight might be reduced. And it could be like Tim was mentioning, they may not have the metal or the appropriate sized fasteners, bolts back there. But it may also be, excuse me, a limit on how much weight you can have sitting on the back of the RV. And 350 pounds with whatever else might be on there, maybe all you can get by with. Tom says he keeps the heat on because I can't get water out of the washer lines. Yeah, so that's a good point. But if you open your low point drains and open up, drop the wash or the hose from the washer, that should drain the lines back, Tom, in that rig, because you got low points in yours for sure. I know I did in mine. And that will drain the water out of those washer lines. But yeah, that could be an issue. And that's a good point. Yep. Ice maker sometimes too can get, messed up. But oh yeah, Tim, that's a good point too. Yeah, you could probably get by with the heat turned a little lower, Wandering RN, if you're so inclined. Maybe 50, 55. Tim says he hasn't. He's got space for a combo washer dryer, but hasn't purchased one because of fear of winterizing it. And Tim says he got rid of his ice maker when the fridge was upgraded. Ah, gotcha. None that you can find, Tom. Well, the low point drains drain all the lines, and they should drain the washer line. The issue you would have is you'd have to break the vacuum on it, right? So you'd probably have to open your low point drain, and then you'd still have to get behind the washer, which is the pain in the butt about doing this, right? And remove the water hose from the faucet, from the standpipe, whatever you want to call it, spigot, to the washer, because you need to break the vacuum on that. Otherwise, that line probably wouldn't drain out, because your low point drains don't work unless you go open the valves too. The faucets and stuff like that, because you got to have air going in to allow that water to drain out. I mean, a little bit will drain out, but it's not going to drain the lines properly. And what I was trying to do is keep Wandering RN from having to do antifreeze. And down in Alabama, Louisiana, we got Judy in Louisiana, and we got the Watering Alabama, Watering RN in Alabama. Yeah, I don't think you need to worry about it freezing. All right, I'll hang here for just a few more minutes in case there's any other questions. Tim says, maybe for another live stream, how do you get the water out of the machine? Well, what you can do is that, as I mentioned, there's going to be a siphon in that hose, and when you disconnect that water hose from the bib, from the hose bib, okay, we'll call it what it should be called, and lay it down, the water should run out, but it's not going to drain the water out of the washer, that's for sure. Fabian Gomez has questions. Hi, Fabian. It was so nice to have you here. On average, how thick would you say slide-out floors are? A half or 3/4 inch on a 2006 fifth wheel? At least a half, and maybe 3/4, but at least a half. Yeah, so I would say at least a half and maybe 3/4. What make and model is your fifth wheel? That would give us a little bit of an idea about who made it and what the quality was. Not saying that you don't have a great fifth wheel. I'm just saying that every manufacturer is a little bit different, and that's also something we should be able to figure out by doing a quick Google search too, just to make sure. But I'm going to say at least a half an inch and maybe 3/4. What kind of flooring is in the slide out? Is it carpet? Is it vinyl? Something like that. Question, proper voltage to charge a lithium battery. All right. To fully charge a lithium battery, you need 14.6 volts. Okay, because a fully topped off, fully charged lithium battery will be at 14.6 volts at the end of the charge cycle. That's on a 12 volt lithium. On a 24 volt, I think it's 28.2. Don't quote me on that. But so you need a charger that will do at least 14.6 volts. The thing about lithium batteries versus lead acid, AGM, by the way, is the same as lead acid, is that the way they're charged is different. For example, a lead acid battery. What was that? Lead acid battery? I got the lead acid. Lead acid batteries, AGM. That was a good one. A new word I just made up. I got to write that one down. Anyway, you bulk charge a lead acid battery until it comes up to a certain voltage. And then your absorption charging on a lead acid battery can last from 2 to 4 hours. On most lithium batteries, not all but most, they like to limit the absorption charge cycle to 2 hours or less. And the charging characteristics are quite a bit different. You have all Victron, then you don't have any problems worrying about lithium, because you can go into your Victron, if you have solar charge controller, and set it up for lithium, and then also the Victron inverters, chargers. It's a real easy setting to go in and set those up for Victron. They have the correct charging characteristics in there, and all of that stuff for lithium versus lead acid. But yeah, and it's just the way they're charged, and how long they spend in the charge cycles. That's a little different. We could probably talk a little bit about that next week when we talk about solar, because it's important. I'll just make a little note here. I've got some pretty good graphics on that that I might be able to dig out and share with you guys next week as well. No solar. Okay, so you're just going to be charging them off your inverter charger. Tom Downey says his charger stopped at 13.4. Have you gone in and adjusted the charging profile inside the inverter? You should be able to go in and change it to lithiums. 14.6 is the minimum you can voltage output on your solar charger, or I mean your not solar, but just in Victron. You should be able to go and tweak that voltage inside of the inverter charger. Oh, okay. Fabian wrote back. He says it's a KZ Montego Bay. It's carpet flooring. I think they're flush floors. All right, so it's going to be a minimum of half inch for sure. And I'm going to do a real quick search here for you. And let's just see if we can turn it up real quick for you. Beautiful, beautiful fifth wheel. Let's see if they tell us here. It's got half-inch plywood roof decking. I guess I could share this with you. Here's the... Hang on here. Let me get to my stuff here. And we'll flip over here real quick. I'll move this over here on the way. So this is a Montego Bay KZ. Here's the specs. Let's see. Item number 26. 5/8. So here you go. 5/8 tongue and groove plywood floor decking. So there you have it there, Mr. Fabian. Hope that helped you out. Yeah, Victron set it all up. I would go and check those the charging profile anyway. Yeah, Tim just said that for sure. Yeah, use your Bluetooth, your Victron Connect. Go in and on your inverter and check and make sure that the lithium charging profile is set up. You know, if you, and that's, I'm agreeing with you, Tim, that it sounds like it's set for lead acid. Well, Robert, that is a really good question. He asks, how do I clean properly under solar panels? Well, here's the thing about under the solar panels, you know, you don't have to worry about a lot of sun getting on there. And depending upon how tall they are off the you know, how far off the top of the roof that they're mounted on your rig. I would just, you know, spray water underneath them and make sure you're pushing out any leaves and any loose dirt matter and stuff like that. I don't know if I would worry about it a whole lot. Yes, Tom, there is a application called Victron Connect. I have it on my phone because I actually have a charger. It won't connect anything, but I have a Bluetooth enabled Victron charger that I use for maintaining my lithium batteries. They're actually sitting back here in the corner of the office here. But yeah, in the app you can go in, take a minute to, you'll be able to find, I'm sure you're going to be able to find a video on YouTube, somebody with the Victron inverter charger that will walk you through the exact way to go in and set that up to make sure it's on lithium. But I agree with Tim, it sounds like it's set for lead acid. You're welcome, Fabian. Happy to help. All right, well, we made it an hour, so that's pretty good. I'll hang here for just another minute. Any other questions that might roll in, be happy to answer. Rick C, error code. Okay, error code off the fridge. Gotcha. All right, so through an error code, did it clear itself up automatically, Rick, or did you have to physically clear off the error code? Thanks, Roundtown Scouter. You have a happy Thanksgiving, too, and hope we'll see you next week. And you too, Robert. So nice to have you here. All right, one last go around. Anything else? Okay. It is set for lithium. Interesting. All right, then you probably physically need to go in and check the charging profile and make sure that that it didn't get screwed up somehow. And this 14.6, I'm positive, is the charging voltage when you're in absorption. Well, I'm almost positive. But you want to look at the actual physical charging profile, which is easy enough to get to on there. And if it's not getting to 14.6 volts, you're not getting a full charge on your lithiums. And they're not going to memory spot or anything like the old NiCads did. So I don't think you need. Oh, sorry, you need to worry about it too much. But yeah, if you're not getting to 14.6 volts, you're not getting a full charge. Charge typically, and it does vary by battery, but not much, Tim. 14.6 for charge, 14.2 for float. It could be as low as 13.6. That's the way I had mine set up, is I let them float at 13.6. All right. Okay, one last call for any open questions. Otherwise, yes, I hope everybody has an amazing Thanksgiving. I hope you're with your family and friends. I hope you don't have to travel. If you do, please travel safely, because we like talking with you, not about you. That's an old phrase, isn't it? But that's it for us tonight. Thanks a lot. Appreciate everybody being here. We'll see you next Thursday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Till then, peace. Good night.